Excuse me. Morning, everyone. Let's kick it off. Okay, last night was a bit of a somewhat sideways session in the States. Nasdaq did finish down a 0.5%. A lot of the big board stocks on the Nasdaq didn't trade particularly well last night. We had some rips around between the FOMC meeting and the polling that came out over Switzerland and potentially moving to the gold standard, and so there's a few significant moves on the day. We did have the Russell that was down just over 1%, but yeah, so there was actually a lot going on, but no huge moves on the back of it. So the Fed came out last night. They said that they were concerned about the pace of inflation slowing. So I think that's obviously quite dovish, but everything else seemed relatively straightforward. And then there was a long consolidated paragraph about the language and the statement, and it's kind of almost like talking about how they're gonna look to raise rates at a point, but don't focus too much on the language kind of thing. Then we had we had a big pullback in the gold price. If you look at the shares, the gold shares in the States, you can see they got hammered. Harmony down 10%, Anglo Gold down 9%, Goldfields down 6%. That was on the back of the Swiss central bank. They talked about moving back onto the gold standard. As recently as a week ago, they had a poll showing almost 50% of the people, voters in favor. Yesterday, a poll came out showing only about 30-odd% of voters are in favor now, and so it doesn't look like it's going to happen. That vote takes place on November 30th, and so the gold price really sold off hard on the back of that because they'd have to buy a hell of a lot of gold, obviously, to get in line to get back onto the gold standard. In China overnight, we had, in Asia overnight, a little bit of mixed action, but one of the things that one of the guys here mentioned this morning is that the lack of rally in the Nikkei, and I think he's 100% right on with that week of a yen. There's a very, very little rally that we actually got on that kind of yen weakness. Previously, that would kind of give us probably at least 1.5–2%. It's starting to look like the Nikkei may be a little bit full here, so something to watch. In Shanghai, we did have the PMI numbers that came out. I think they were dead on at 50, which is weaker than expected. So, a little bit of continued negative news out of Shanghai. We saw iron ore down again, about 1.5% overnight. So we continued to see that negative train coming, and then Australia obviously falling on the back of these iron ore stocks getting hammered. I think a lot of that's follow through from yesterday, but some of them sold off quite hard again today in Australia, and I think that maybe there's a little bit more to come here locally today. So we'll have to watch those closely. They're giving up levels in terms of the technicals. All right, just in case you thought you were going to be able to outperform markets investing by yourself, there's recent studies shows that is simply not the case. 20-year analyzed performance and asset class by personal investors just have not shown good performance. As you can see there's the average investor down at 2.5%, pretty much losing to everything, only narrowly beating inflation. So let the pros handle your cash. All right, moving on. We had Woolworths trading updates yesterday, or this morning, sorry. We had group sales are showing up 47.5%. It's actually a touch lighter than expectations. Ex-David Jones up 11.9%. Goldfields out this morning. Those numbers on the comparables are a Bloomberg consensus number that could be out of line in terms of the more recent forecasts. So just take that with a pinch of salt. Gold production dead in line. All-in sustaining costs. It looks like dead in line, so we'll have to see how the market takes it this morning. Obviously, the gold shares are under pressure last night hugely, and I think that will dominate the spectrum. We're supposed to have Investec right at the opening bell this morning, and then we're also going to have Nampak a little bit later. All right. As we said, we had some PMI numbers overnight. Chinese numbers, you can see they're right at 50. Expectations for 50.2, so a bit softer. Japan PMI numbers also softer. We're going to see the European PMI numbers. Germany is obviously going to be a big focus, but look for the European number as well. Then later in the States, we've got a ton of stuff. We've got CPI, we've got initial jobless claims, we've also got PMI, we've got Bloomberg Consumer Comfort, we've got existing home sales, and then we've got European consumer confidence that comes out at our closing bell, as well as we've got local interest rates today. I think that should be around 3 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Right, let's get into the maps. First thing we're going to have a look at here is the yen. So we talked about that a second ago. Sorry, I actually cut part of the chart off there. This thing's just gone parabolic here. We had the last 2 days, we've gone from, call it 1670 all the way up to 1860 as we speak. So we've rallied about we've sold off about 2% in the yen, which would normally give us just a massive injection in Japan. Right now, as we speak, we're trading pretty much dead flatline. So, you know, there's a real lack of follow through in terms of the equity market there the last couple sessions, and you know, to me that might mean that we're starting to signal that things are getting a little bit full there. So I think watch closely the next couple of days. You know, that could be a nice little indicator. All right, let's look at spot gold and look at 2 year here. Again, we know that obviously what the chart looks like a little bit longer term, and what we wanted to show here, sorry, I'm just trying to get in a little bit and get the proper, there we go. All right, you can see obviously the 1200 level is massive, 1180 also being key. So we got above the 1180 level on this rally, on this talk of us going onto the gold standard in Switzerland. We got up to 1200, tested it, maybe traded 50 cents above it a couple times the last 2 days, only to fail it yesterday, and we got back down to right at about 1180. I think if 1180 drops, this will look like a perfect little bear flag where we've tested major resistance, which is always kind of what you want to see anyway. You want to kind of see it fail, maybe consolidate, test it a little bit, and then that's where the real breakdown occurs. So I think we're potentially still sitting on a major breakdown coming in gold, and I think it's to be watched very closely because there could be a lot of meat on that bone. All right. Looking at one of the ones we looked at yesterday, we looked at Barclays Group. You can see here we actually did get that breakout through 178 in the level that we talked about. So we've broken out here, only narrowly so, but definitely broken out here. The target is huge. So I would think initial target would be about 188, but the bigger picture target would be over $200. So just watch this closely. There could potentially be some real meat left on the bone there in BGA. All right, looking at one of the mining stocks that actually has rallied a little bit over the last few sessions is Amplats. I don't know exactly why it's traded so well, but it has nonetheless, and it has broken out of basically 2 months of consolidation. So we've been consolidating between about 384 and 348 for the better part of 2 months, and we ripped up above that yesterday, closed above it nicely. So I'd say as long as we can stay above 384, we could maybe see some upside here. We're probably going to be looking for the height of that channel on that move, so maybe somewhere up closer to the 420 level in Amplats. All right, some of the stocks that aren't trading well, some of these mining stocks that aren't trading well, we're going to go back and show a couple of these again. Anglo's again looking very weak yesterday. If it drops below 229, it'll be taking out almost year lows and definitely recent lows and a continuation move. And I think that there's significant downside from there. If we drop from 229, I think we're going to see a move down to 210 rather quickly. So just watch that one closely today. If we drop 229, I actually kind of expect us to drop 229 at least at the beginning of the session, and then we'll go from there. ARI, one of the ones that we also showed yesterday, you can see here dropping major support at 135. Downside target about 12 Rand lower, so we're going to be looking for about 123 maybe in the move in ARI. And the last one that we're going to show is Rio in London, and you can see here this thing's been fighting really, really well. It's kind of held up better than some of the others. There's a major level here at 29.50, and I think this is really important. So the first one of the ones to drop real consolidation there in London, but Billy's and Anglo's very close behind this. We've really consolidated hard. We've made kind of, if you want to call it, a little descending triangle here. And we've finally dropped that 29.50, not convincingly. I think we're going to want to see a little bit more follow through this morning, but I think we will probably see follow through on the early morning session. So just watch it closely. We continue to push here below 29.50. There's big downside to come potentially for Rio Tinto and the other miners alike. And that's it for today, guys. Good luck out there.